Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett here. Yesterday I just got finished with my blockchain use it or lose it video, and I would have swore like there was a point in my at time that I would have sworn that I would be a blockchain developer today. Um, I thought that was going to be the big. I really thought that technology was going to be huge, and that happens all the time. Like I think that technologies are going to get huge, and then they don't. I know. I remember. So like, there's like this templating thing, right? Like so when you create a string, uh, you can be like this. You can say like const a equals, it's called like template literals, and then you could be like dollar, and then you can have variables in there. And the other nice thing is you can actually have um, like you can do that. You can have line breaks in there. Um, I thought that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. I mean, I was just like, oh my god, I can't. Why would we have this? This is stupid. Um, but yeah, of all the thing, that's one of my favorite things that did come out in the latest in the when there was a huge move forward in JavaScript, and that ended up being one of my favorite things. And then there was this thing called the communications API, something communications API, and I thought, oh my god, this is going to be a game changer. This is going to change everything, and it just has really never amounted to anything at all. Um, so what technologies take, what technologies don't take. It's always a mystery to me. Uh, I know everybody bet against JavaScript. Like everyone's like, JavaScript's flash in the pan. And I can remember when I was at CNN, there was like this Java conference at the World Congress Center across the street, and so a lot of people were going to that, and that like one of the regular things in the Java conference center they would say is there is no actual implementation of a full stack JavaScript. They like that was just something they would say over and over again. Like Java's not going anywhere. It, it's just theoretical. The concept of a full stack JavaScript, and everyone's just like, we are literally doing a full stack JavaScript across the street at CNN right now. And it would be like the very next session, like we informed them that that's what was happening, and the next session they would say it again. And it was just like, you know, like no one thought JavaScript was going to end up being the monster, the huge thing that it's turned out to be. It's just incredible. But anyways, we are doing unit tests, and yesterday I had a little extra time in the evening before we. Um, it's weird. Before we, me and my wife went to get some Mexican food, which was delicious, by the way. Um, but before we went to there, got I got my unit test to 100% coverage, but I did something that was a bit hacky, where I just sort of threw on um, it's interesting. So in these unit tests, so I don't know if you remember before, but before what was happening is you would actually see the this guy, and now we don't see it. We would see it in the actual, because it was part of the app. Now that it's no longer part of the app, we don't see it. I don't think that's a big deal, but I like to observe things, and that is interesting. So, but anyways, the way I achieved 100% is by going into my animation spec and just adding some some code to an existing spec. But I really do want this spec to be to actually be for the to be a little like, I don't want to just throw something in there to get 100. I actually do want to test the spec, and I'm not exactly sure how to do it, but I'm just going to start off is doing this, and then I believe what I want is to do this and this and this. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I just copied it, and then I think I want to basically do the exact same test, but instead of calling update for animation directly, I want to call the other one, which is like create or something like that. Create function for ID. So we are going to create a function for the ID. And for that, we need to create, we send it a renderer and it does everything. So this is a really good, I think that this is a good pattern, right? Like I think the pattern of creating functions that just do everything and aren't dependent on state of any outside state, like they have all the information they need to do their job, is really good. And I believe that that is called being a pure function, or at least when I learned, sometimes things change meaning over time, but I believe a pure function is a function that does two things. It doesn't depend on the state, it doesn't alter the state, it just does its thing, and it does its thing the same way every time. So that is what this is, which I believe is the main benefit to requiring unit tests. So when you require unit tests, what happens is people alter the way they code in order to make it easier to unit test their code, which 99 times out of 100, literally 99 times out of 100, is a better, leads to better outcomes than having code that isn't unit testable. So it's kind of like, right, it's the point isn't to write unit tests, the point is to write code that is unit testable, I think, is the reality of that. Love you, rat. So anyway, so we want to move this code down into the new test. And I feel like all we really want this thing to do is to return a function, really. I mean, that's really its only job, right? Is for, like, I'm not really trying to test. Well, okay, so actually I have two desires, right? One is to achieve 100%. So I can't achieve 100% without, I can't achieve 100% without calling the function. But secondarily, I want to make sure that it does what it was intended to do. So what it really should return a function is what it return function. And so basically all we want to do is say expect let's see, fun, is it like type of fun to be, I think it's like to be, I think it's to be, I don't know what to be would, because we don't do that up here, right? We say to equal. So to equal is really what we want. To equal. And I don't remember if that's exactly, or if it's supposed to be a capital F, or what the dealio is. But we're saying we want the type of this object to be a type of function, to equal function. I think that's what I want. and we did, and it succeeded. So functional dude. We want it to be functional dude because I do want it to fail. I want to actually make sure I'm running it because sometimes you get, yeah. So that was, sometimes you'll get like, you write a bunch of code and you're like, oh, that worked. And then you find out, nope, it wasn't even running for some reason or something like that. So it's always good to actually make it fail and succeed. Now with TDD, apparently I would have written this test ahead of time and then all that. And that, I think that that would be really neat. I mean, that would be neat. That would be neat if I could have like said, oh, I need a thing that's going to return a function and blah, 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 blah. You know, I think that would have been really, really cool. And then we did add like a bunch of extra stuff that's just a side effect. Like really all I was trying to do is, and we execute all of this stuff, and all I was trying to do is achieve 100% test coverage, which is kind of like, I don't know, like at my heart, at my deep down sort of view of the world, I don't really like doing things for side effects. I like things to be for intentional purposes. And I think like sometimes, like let's say I was working with other people, like they may think, oh, okay, I need to run this every time. I don't know why I need to run this every time, but I need to run this every time to get my stuff, you know, for things to just work. And I don't really want to dig through. I don't have time to dig through and figure out why all this stuff, why I need all this stuff. And then you end up with this sort of thing just copied everywhere when all you're really trying to do is achieve 100%. I'm just going to put this here. This I would never do in an environment where I have to get a pull request through, because execute to achieve 100% test coverage. Now, what's the point, right? Like, honestly, like, I don't know. I don't know what the point is. There is going to be a point. There's no point today, really. I think that there was a point. So if we were in 2008, I would say the reason you do this is because what if our library that we use in here, when we generate this function, let's go back here. Like, what if this library changes? What if something, like, what if we do an upgrade and we bring in a new version of this library and, like, there is no 3 scene anymore, or you have to give, you know, or you have to give the camera, get camera by ID an extra, what if they change it and you have to give it an extra argument or something like that. Stuff like that used to happen all the time. You would do like an upgrade, and then if you did not have a nice suite of unit tests, those bugs of things that change like that may take years, literally years, to shake out from an upgrade. Whereas if you had a nice suite of unit tests, it would catch these things. Also, now you'd have broken unit tests and you'd be able to catch them. So anyways, I guess next is Cypress testing. So I killed that. One thing you will get you will start to reliably kill your stuff if you do unit tests, because if you do not kill it, it will not die. And if you kill the terminal before you kill the unit tests, you're in a weird spot. You kind of pretty much have to restart your computer, which can be very traumatic for some people if you're the kind of person that leaves like all your environments up and running all the time, and restarting is a huge disaster for you because you don't know how to get everything up and running again. And it can be kind of a bummer. But anyways, so I can't remember. I think it was, let's do this. Control P, package, and let's just close everything else other than the package, because that is like one of my major problems is I leave so many tabs open that I get completely lost. So I want to do npm Cypress open. I believe, if I remember correctly, it will just open up something well, let's try npm Cypress run, because I believe that will actually not open up anything. It should just fail because one of our tests, npm run Cypress run. So I asked my boss if we could set up Cypress where I work last week on like Friday at the end of the day, and he has not responded yet. So we actually have like a whole week where we did not text each other back and forth. Home CY, or where we did not talk on our communications scheme. So test. So it says it passed. Oh no. I don't know. That was weird. Because it should have failed. I was expecting it to fail. That's weird. Okay, so this, I'm going to open it. Because I think it was just looking for the, I was thinking it would fail, but I think it was just looking for an example of the canvas. Well, there's still an example of the canvas on there. So that's why it passed. Unfortunately, right now, the way I have things set up, wow, so it defaulted to Electron. That's weird. I don't know, maybe it's something I did in the previous step. Let's see. So in my last video, my camera was doing that herky-jerky thing, and now it stopped. So that was weird. So we'll run the home one. And I guess it found a canvas. Yeah, it still found one, even though it wasn't the one that it used to find. It found a different one. That's something interesting to think about. Like false positive. I was really expecting a negative there. Okay, so that was previous runs. That's neat. Feature ENG 183. Interesting. Specs. Viz. Expected canvas. Assert expected canvas to exist in DOM. I feel like something's weird about that. I feel like it looks like, I don't know why there's two of them. But anyway, so nothing's failing. I don't think there's any reason to do anything. I think we're done with that. So what I'm trying to get to next is, so long term, what I would love to be able to do is a lot of things. I would like to be able to create really cool, fun animation, 3D animations that have music and the physics engine all like integrated into one like builder. But additionally, I would like to be able to import like complex meshes and create complex meshes. And so, that's like another thing. And then additionally, so those are really, I guess, the two main things I want to be able to do is view existing mess. Oh, and export. So I would love to be able to like export this to a STL file so that I could print it out. I would love to be able to import an STL, maybe tweak it in this tool, and then export it with a slight modification. So I have a lot of ambitions for this, but I think the next step, the next sort of milestone, will be able to create multiple visualizations. And the reason I want to have multiple visualizations is because I like the concept. I really want to be able to provide experiences where you're looking at the same action happening from two different directions. So like one of the things I just really that I dig is emulating eclipses, and it would be kind of neat to have like one big visualization of like the moon rotating around the earth, and then maybe a little one of the the eclipse happening, and and basically completely in sync, or maybe one the same side by side, where you see the big thing and then the little one, and just stuff like that. I think it would be kind of cool to watch something sort of move through one and then appear in the next one, like move through multiple. So basically, like you have a camera here and a camera here, and you're showing it. Like I mean, I just think there'll be a lot of cool things that we could build out. So, and all that. So that's the end goal. But the next goal, next milestone, because I feel like I have everything ready to commit, and make a new commit. But the next milestone, small milestone, will be to be able to have like a little hamburger menu here, and then you click on that, and then you click on it, and it creates another visualization, and it creates the new visualization to, in the next spot over. But before I can do that, I think I need to pull the visualization code out of the component, and it needs to be some parts of it need to be passed in from the parent. So the parent is the one that has the list of different visualizations that then get sent in, and the component just knows how to render those visualizations. So that will be the next thing, is to start migrating that code out of the visualization and move it into the parent. And then that way, once that's done, then I'll be able to create then it'll probably make sense to create the little hamburger icon. And so I don't know what all the steps are to get to the vision that I have, the thing that I would like to have. I just don't. I don't really know what all the steps are, but I do feel like I know what the next step is, and maybe the next 3 or 4 steps are. And I only know that, I think, because I've just built thousands upon thousands of applications over the last 50 years. So that's what that's about. But anyways, I guess, what are we at? 23? I guess it would make sense to commit that. I know sometimes I make entire videos about committing, but, it seems silly. So let's go over this. Usually what'll happen is, let me make this, I kind of go over okay, so this one just makes everything black. Once we kind of shrunk everything down, the back, you could see the body, because before we had a canvas that just took over the whole thing. So now we have this app component. So basically this was the desire. This was the end goal, is to be able to remove everything out of here and still have a component. Basically, in many ways, this is literally just a copy paste of the example code, just that gets you up and rolling. So that's that. Viz component. So basically, this is all that stuff migrated over here. You see, it's a lot cleaner, right? Like when you just get, like if you look at what we have now versus what we had then, like I think you see like a really nice like a cleaner implementation. It's a little easier. I think it's possible to sort of, and we probably did before in the last commit, where we just kind of went line by line and we were able to describe everything in here. But I think this is a lot cleaner, right? We see what we import. We see that we created animation service, and this is a bit hacky, where we create some animations to be used, and then there's that. Um, so at some point, like I probably will maybe create base animations, and then get this one of these little objects back. Um, Probably makes sense to do that. And then so then this gets a lot cleaner. This gets to be more like this or this up there. Um, and then let's see. So this is the new. We removed a ton of like just objects. I don't think we were. Yeah, they were all commented out anyways. Uh, Basically, I don't think we need that render service. Well, I guess we're doing that render service before each, and we added one test down here. I think that makes sense. And we changed the name of these so that it had the name of the function, and then we just added a test to test the create animations for ID, and then we just said, did we get a function back? Yes. Okay, good. Animation service. This is the lion's share of the work, and that was the intention. And basically, we just added a new function. We did run into what was bizarre in that we can't do this, and it creates a runtime error. And we definitely want to circle back around and just keep trying this and see if we can ever figure out a way, like what is causing that, because I don't know why this is different than like injecting the render service or the scene service or the camera service. But there's something funny about that. I'm sure it'll be obvious, all that. So, yeah, so this basically just returns a function to be used by the renderer, and it knows its render. It can find out all kinds of stuff about itself, and then it can find the meshes, and it can modify them. In the future, it will also need to have lights, and who knows what other kind of stuff. Groups. It'll probably need to know how to render a group. See, render service. So we imported the animation service. See, I think the animation service imports the render service. Oh, st render service. Yeah, so maybe this is the problem. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, we added a little bit of stuff in here to basically, I guess we're getting the ID, and we've added that. I guess we changed the name of this thing, so I guess that made sense. Yeah, I don't see anything particularly interesting in here. So we inject the animation service. That makes sense. Looks like we added st render ID to these things, and then we did some cleanup here, and then we added this concept of a renderer function, which then we give to the render service to set the set the renderer function that's going to get executed. I think that all is pretty clear. Maybe not, but I don't know how to make it clear. Render function, and then we added render by ID. I think I just changed the name of this. Is literally all that changed was, yeah, see, it used to be ID. I don't know why I wasn't looking over here on the left to see. Yeah, so basically, yeah, this would have been a lot easier to look over here and look over there. I have no idea why I got so weird. Yeah, so we added the st renderer. We look over here. We just did a name change to make things a little bit clearer. Then because of that, we could just do this. I don't know what the name of this is. It's this thing, this auto assignment thing. And then we added this whole concept of the renderer function. So before this in the app, one of the things that was kind of hacky is that we created the rendering function that was going to get executed over and over again in there, and then just sort of hacked it in. Now we kind of made it more formalized the concept, and we added it into our get base renderer. So any base renderer will just automatically get a renderer function. The renderer function knows how to do things to the meshes. It doesn't matter whether the meshes are assigned yet or not assigned yet. Like, you can modify those independently. This is just the function that knows how to look in there, and this function will run. It'll attempt to run 60 times a second. So yeah, this was a name change. We did a lot of name changes. And then set animation function for stid. So we added this one function just to say, hey, now we can set an animation function. And so this is a ThreeJS thing. We create a ThreeJS renderer and we set the animation loop. At some point we may want to maybe add some guardrails in here that say, is it already set? Like, don't set it again if it's already. I feel like there's a good chance, there's a possibility that we might just start reassigning the animation function over and over again. But that is that. So I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and add these. So I always like to stage them up here. But when it's everything, I think it's reasonable to say, hello. This is weird. I don't know what just happened. Oh, yeah, that was weird. Okay, I guess Cypress was still running. So let's try that again. Git status. I'll tell you, I have no idea why, but for some reason, Git has sort of become like Webpack. So Webpack was something that people kind of understood and they got into. And then it was sort of a concept that, like, there was really no reason to understand it. It sort of came in, you can learn it, but then it sort of just got like obscured away, abstracted away. It got abstracted away, and we don't really need to understand it. It just is of no use to know. But man, Git is getting to be the same way, where like no one seems to understand Git wherever you go, and but it like makes people's lives miserable not to understand Git. So yeah, it's weird, you know, and no one seems to really want to. Even if you start to try to explain Git, most people just sort of like dip, you know, they're just like, okay, whatever. Like, I heard someone say, you know, hey, you know, like, can you go in and teach me Git? And I feel like come in and teach Git for a day or something like that. And it's going to take more. Git, unfortunately, is the kind of thing that you have to practice to get conceptually good at. And I think it's because like all of our words in American English are completely, they don't fit with the words. And then not just the words, but also the actual concepts. So I think when most people try to describe Git, they try to describe a library and a book. And you get the book and you check the book out, and then you make changes in the book, and then you put the book back in. But I don't think that's a good description of Git at all. I think a Git branch, I would say a better way to say that a Git branch would be to think of it as a narrative or a story, right? So I have a story, and in this story, there are things, and those things are, so we call them commits. But if I could name them, if I was in charge, I would name them events. So these are events that happened in my story, and we have one rule. And I think there may be exceptions with like the way you commit things, but the rule is that events have to happen at the same. Like when I take an event from one story, it happens at the same time as in both stories. So if I pull an event over there into my branch or events in my branch, the time is the same. So if I have in my story, I have the concept of like, it's just like, okay, in the morning I woke up, and then at noon I had coffee, and then at 4 I had dinner. And then there's another story, and your story is you woke up at the exact same time because we branched. That's where we branched off of each other. That's where our stories separated. But in your version, you had tea at 7 a.m., right? Like before I had. Then if I pull something from an event from your narrative, from your story into my narrative, into my branch, if I take one of your commits, one of your events, and I pull it into my branch, my event, it's going to happen at the exact same time. So now if I pull that, then I had tea at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, where things get weird is, let's say you had tea and then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you washed your tea glass, right? So you dumped out the rest of your tea and you washed the glass. Now, let's say I want to move that event into my narrative, my branch. I want to move that commit where you wash your glass, you dump out your tea and you wash your glass in mine, but I don't move the other event where you had tea. Then it doesn't make any sense, right? Because there is no concept of having a tea glass, tea to dump out in my narrative. My branch doesn't have that concept. So I can't just take that one thing over. I have to pull both of those events over. I have to pull both. So then let's say as part of I didn't just do one thing. I had teas and biscuits. And then I'm like, well, I don't want biscuits in my narrative down here. Well, it doesn't matter because in your event, you had those two together. You made that commit with both things in it. I can't have the tea without the biscuits now because you put the tea and the biscuits together in the same event. If you'd have put those in separate events, there's tea and biscuits, there's tea glass and a biscuit saucer or little mini plate or whatever, and then I just want tea in my narrative. I don't want the biscuits yet or ever. I can't leave the biscuits out because those are together. So that's like one of the arguments for making smaller, more separate commits, because I may only want parts of what is in your branch. I don't want all of it. But the other thing that really leads to, I've seen, oh my God, that these two dudes used to just fight all day long. Literally, you could count on it 3 to 6 times a month that these two would sit next to each other and slowly get more and more pissed at each other until they were screaming at each other. Because this dude would be like, this went into the branch a month and a half ago. If we'd have had this bug for the last month and a half, there's no way that this bug did it because this went into the branch a month and a half ago. But when you move things over, if you merge somebody's events into your events, right? If you take their branch and you merge it into your branch, it's not or into the main branch or whatever. It's not when it was merged in, it's when it was committed into this branch. That time moves over. So it wasn't in the main branch. The bug didn't exist until after the branch was merged. That the view of like, oh, I checked this in and that is the date is such a hard thing for people to understand. And Git just is like all of our stories that describe it of a library with a book and making changes. You check out the book and you make some changes. Then I check out the book and I make some changes. All that stuff totally does not concur at all with the way Git works. And it makes things really, really hard. But anyways, I don't know if that made a damn bit of sense. That's probably would be a good thing for me to sort of interact with ChatGPT. It could probably come up with a better way of putting those words. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do a video where I interact with ChatGPT and we discuss Git, and it takes my screwy words and turns them into something that makes some sense. But anyway, so I've staged everything. I think I did it with git add dot. The other thing is like, so I can unstage these. This will, no, that stashes. This unstages all. And I don't know why they use the word stage. And then they use the word stage to call these, that these have been staged. But then the command you use it is add. Why couldn't we call it git stage? Or why can't we call this added? I don't know why we can't stay consistent on that kind of stuff, but so this is typically how I'll do it. And usually I'll do it this way because you can, let me unstage it again. I'll usually do it this way because like a lot of times I want to make commits, like what I was talking about, like, okay, I really only want the styles to be in its own commit because this one is, you know, so makes the background black. So if they wanted all this stuff, but they didn't want to make the background black, you know, that they wouldn't have to take this commit. And so when you're taking a single commit, that is a command called cherry pick. So if all you wanted to do, if I committed this by itself and all you wanted to do was make the background black, you could cherry pick that one commit out and it would take that single style commit and it would apply it to your branch, and then the background color would be black after that. And then, but I feel like these are all together though, right? Like I don't think you'd want to make it black unless you removed all the TypeScript from here, you know, because there's no need. So I think those two are together. And then I don't think you really want to do that, remove the app until the visualization is complete, because all you're going to have is a big blank stream, and then you don't really want the spec. Maybe sometimes I'll put the unit tests in their own commit. Sometimes I don't. It just depends on the environment, what things are like. This has some stuff that I don't like. I don't really like this, and I definitely don't think. Oh no, I do want that because I want to be able to test this. But I do want this because I really do want to understand this concept. So I would probably have all of this if this was a professional gig, I would definitely have this in its own local branch because it really has no business in an actual professional branch, but this isn't a professional branch. So render service, yeah, I kind of think this was the whole point to this commit. So everything needs to go. I don't think I'll do this generally, but, and then I don't remember what this video is. I think this is video like 65. So I like to put that in my Git messages. So it took us 65 sessions to get here. So that's always fun to think. So let's just do a quick Git status to make sure everything's green. I can't tell you how often. I would say 3 out of 4 times when I do a Git message, a Git commit, I don't have anything staged. I do that all the time. And it works out pretty good because you actually get sort of a second chance at the message. So this is video 65. Gosh, I hope we get to video 1000. Because if we get to a video 1000, that would mean that this code got to the 3-year mark. And if we can get this, because that last one lasted about a year, and there was some cool shit in that video. I mean, there was some really cool animations of text and eclipses and stuff like that. And if this one can just imagine all the cool stuff that will be in that, because I do think this we'll start to get some really good momentum going. but it was definitely a slow start. Implements basic. I noticed that my paralegal book says the word basic over and over and over again. I would say that was probably the most used book. And I think they are trying to like tell you, they're trying to mentally explain to you that you are a basic part of the process. You're not the star here. You are the person who's just getting everything, doing all the grunt work, getting everything ready. You are not the person doing, you're not, this is not for your creative outlet. This is for you to get stuff done. So implements basic animations. And then I probably should have said architecture, basic animation architecture. So we're going to push that. And we are at 46 minutes. So that's a long one. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.